A brief drop in crime this summer in Richmond was followed by a spike in shootings. 14 people shot over just 5 days last month.
We deserve justice. We deserve change. We deserve answers.
When you kill somebody, you do damage to the families. And think about they do damage to you too.
Last summer, CBS 6 hosted a town hall called Stop the Violence. An 8-person panel came together to answer your questions and work towards solutions. And now, 1 year later, we're bringing together a group of 5 Richmonders who have seen and felt the impact of violence firsthand. Does Richmond have a gun violence problem? What's being done to address it? And what would these individuals like to see going forward? Tonight, we share their voices. Does Richmond have a gun violence problem today? I want to start with you, Mark Whitfield. 5 years ago, you suffered a tragedy that should be entirely unimaginable. And I think today, 5 years later, it's probably a wound that never really heals. But I want to ask you, since you've been an activist ever since your beautiful 9-year-old daughter, Markia, was shot and killed on a playground in the middle of the day, caught in the crossfire between people perhaps settling a score, what are you seeing?
Every day is like, it's another one. Like, I always ask, like, where the numbers come from? Where they getting statistics from how they keeping tabs on these violent crimes? Who's really sitting back, notating, like, all right, this, that. Like, we want to know the facts on the numbers, because if you're living in the middle of it, it looks different from what you see on paper.
You've been to way too many scenes, way too many neighborhoods where people are hurting, like Mark. What do you see? Does Richmond have a gun violence problem?
We have a crisis, and it needs to be dealt with the same way that we are dealing with the homeless crisis. The homeless crisis, Richmond took a stab at it. Sorry for that use of word, but they took a plug at it and put a lot of dollars and resources towards it. We need those just as much for this gun violence.
It is an issue that's so multifaceted, and that really requires a totality of the resources that we can put towards it from our elected officials. But I think also there has to be, community accountability as well. There has to be community involvement. Like, how are we taking care of one another?
Right, well, yeah, I mean, it is crisis, and it is actually, like we said, it's firearm death and injury. Gun violence is a national problem. Yeah, Richmond, we have a problem. We've had a problem, and those people that have been in the city or are relative to the city going back to the 90s, a lot of people are saying that the consistency of it looks like the mid to early 90s in Richmond, those of you that are from and have been around.
What do you see that works? One-on-one contact obviously seems to have a huge impact, I would guess.
Yeah, that's what we do. We identify the people who are at risk of gun violence. And that's what needs to happen more is identifying those who are at risk and then coming to them and seeing what they need and intervening. Once we do that, we try to, once we identify the people who may be shot or may be doing the shooting, we go to their door and let them know that. But that's one of the initial responses sometimes is, how do you know, why you think that I'm involved in something? I'm not doing nothing. And my immediate response is, we just, we have people that identify situations and your name, came up as somebody that's at risk, but I'm not here for that. We let them know automatically, we're only here to help. We're only here to connect you to resources. I tell them, straight up, I don't want to know anything that you got going on. I'm just here to see how I can help you. If you need somebody to talk to, connect you to therapy or whatever.
Question, what are we seeing and what are we doing? We have ongoing programs. The Trauma Healing Response Network is over 33 organizations, nonprofits, advocates, mentors, and educators. And to what the brother was saying, we have programs like the Broken Men Foundation in the Broken Men Youth Academy. That's teenagers from junior high school, middle school, up to, I think, 27 years old. They mentor, they educate, and they build relationships. So like, what are we seeing and what are we doing? Yeah, we respond to firearm injuries and firearm deaths, and we come in and we provide resources to the families that are in crisis as a result. But the day before that happened, the week before that happened, the month before that happened, we're in that very community trying to build relationships.
And one of the things I actually, even early on in my teaching career, had to learn to realize once I started talking to the students, understanding like where they were coming from, it was like, all right, I got to figure out new ways to support them and understand that they coming in here tired. It ain't because they don't want to learn, it's because they had a rough night. And they're leaving. This is the only time they're gonna be able to get some sleep. So it's like, how do we give grace? How do we find ways to support, our young people in the community? How do we make opportunities for our young men? I think, one of the things that the city, has done a lot of and focused on is like youth programs, and I think that is a phenomenal thing. But what happens when kids age out of those programs? What happens to the 22, the 23, the 24-year-old that may not have had the best experience in education and may not have the skills? Like, how do we help support those individuals so now they don't have to turn to the streets and turn to violence as a way to just like survive and make the ends meet? Like, how do we give them skills?
We've talked about a lot of interventions. We talked a lot about, applying resources, letting people, helping, whether it's a rent issue, whether it's an acute health issue. How would this play out in your neighborhood? How would we make an impact in your neighborhood?
I can't offer the drug dealer, stop selling drugs. No, I gotta have something to offer him. Man, look, I got pastor, and I got him, they got this program, bro, and they might get you in here doing this. You want a CDL, help these guys get out of the street. That's why I really focus on children, because you know what? I can't go get a grown man to change his ways. But that kid, I'm looking at the future. I'm thinking ahead of the game. Because that little 10-year-old, he gonna be 16 in a little while. And he gonna be the one right here holding the gun if he don't get no structure in him. Put on, dress like me, dress like him. Come out in the hood, walk through. Don't put on no badge and no, cause they see that, you automatically, even for my pastors, I love religion, nothing against it, but we can't go out with no, we gotta look like them, talk like them. That's why people connect with me, because I'm not coming to put on no suit and talk to you. I'm gonna talk to you just like I talk to anybody else, because it's real.
What do we see that is working? That, to me, sounds like something that's working. What else are we seeing? Is it, police programs, police patrols? Is it, and I suspect it's going to be everything altogether that we need. But what do you see that works?
Like, the mental thing is the worst. Like, y'all just don't understand, man, the depression that comes with it, because the victims, the surviving victims, deal with it the baddest, bro. And it's like, we need people to tap in like them that's coming around like, hey, look, I'm here. You gotta have somebody to pick you up sometime, because you feel like it's all over. So that make you flip out in your head and go do something crazy, or you just feel like nobody cares. You put it in, what they say, you crawl under that rock. I didn't been there. I didn't had suicidal thoughts because of the trauma, the pain, everything. You just feel like you can't deal. But our programs, these kids will never know nothing about none of these programs. Nobody knows because it's not televised.
What do you want to see going forward, Maurice? What should we do today going forward in terms of whether it's funding, whether it's more people, whether it's putting it on TV?
We need more people to know, what's going on so that they can get involved, because at the end of the day, like, we all are all doing things, but we can't do it ourselves. And like, my job is, once we identify people who are at risk, my job is to connect them to different individuals, different community, people that are able to help them, because real life doesn't, offer everything, but we connect them to everything. So we need more people that are willing to help.
We have people in our network, people that are pastors, that are deacons, that are church leaders, and we got people that are non-religious. We have people that are educators and people that are not traditionally educated, but they go in the community and they get their work done and they help people prevent themselves from going off the deep end and being in mental health crisis. So it's breaking the barriers down and then figuring out how to be a team so we can focus on the health crisis and not judge each other based on what you do or don't do, what I do or don't do, and how we can all figure out what each other's job is and support that.
And I imagine, Pastor Gilliam, that you can address some of the spiritual health issue crisis.
How do I make sure that everything I got going on in the trauma response, my folks know in my church, so that they can carry it into their communities and say, oh yeah, I heard my pastor talking about this, because some of that work, some of the best advertising is word of mouth, right? And then they're able to share that in the communities and the networks that they're in. And that's one way that we disrupt, but we also disrupt by making sure that all of these organizations at the table, all of the ones that are in our communities, that we able to come together and know what everybody is working on, know what everybody offers, understand what folks are doing in their particular lane, so that we can then use that connective tissue that, we talked about, that we have, the networks that we have, and broaden our networks so that, our young people, our elders, whoever, everybody can feel safe, everybody can live healthy, everybody can move towards a holistically safe past surviving into a thriving life. And so that takes the whole community, elected officials and the cats on the corner. It takes everybody to make that happen.
Our elected officials, not to shake hands, not to be seen, not to be notified, not with no security detail. You need to come and shadow Mark. You need to come and shadow these gentlemen here. With no cameras, no nothing. Just shadow us one night. Stay with Dave one night and hear that gunfire.